2018 Chevy Tahoe. We're going to take the transmission, pull the 6-speed just like every other GM. First thing we're doing, getting the cross member out of here, getting the mount out of here, getting both drive shafts out of here. I'm going to hold this up with the tripod on the transfer case so this jack isn't in my way. These legs, the whole time I'm trying to take everything apart. The starter's got to come out, torque converter bolt's got to come out, shield's got to come off. All right, let's go. Just take the weight off of the cross member. Snap this little thing. Okay, now that you got the cross member, all that stuff out of the way, now it's time for the exhaust. So we're going 1, 2, 3. There's 3 of them on there, and there's 3 of them on this side, and then there's this clamp back here. This clamp back here can be a pain sometimes. It either turns or it breaks. If it breaks, it's fine. You can just put a new bolt through this thing, and I have to do that sometimes. Hard part, and the reason I take this front drive shaft out first is because you have to get to these plug-ins for the O2 sensors, and they're a pain to get off, especially the cram full of mud and dirt. So I smack them with a screwdriver, get them as clean as I can. Take those out first, and then take this exhaust out of here. Are they going to come off, or am I going to have to use heat? My guess is they're going to come off because it's a 2018. Let's find out. This one, I don't know if it's going to be so easy. Let's see. All right, came loose. Alright, next thing I do, take all the plug-ins off of everything. Plug-ins, oh, that's going to be fun. This plate, shifter cable, 10mm off of this bracket, cooler lines, just take the bolt out. I don't take these out until I get ready to pull it so it doesn't leak everywhere. Starter and torque converter bolts have to come out, and I'm going to take the shield off. Let's get doing that stuff. Had a lot of rain, so you see all of these plug-ins and everything is just coated with mud. and dirt that's all dried on here now just because it's been so muddy here. Can we get this one off without breaking? Just plug in out. Air gun, screwdriver, secret weapons. Gotta love it. Go. Ooh, see that? A little bit of finesse. A little bit of finesse, boys. Ooh, yes. So satisfying. All right, next thing, torque converter bolts in the starter. Now that the starter's up out of the way, got your little plastic shield off of there. You can see one of the torque converter bolts. We're going to get those out. I'm going to turn it over by the crankshaft after I take that cover off. And once that cover's off, opens up the whole front of the motor. So you can get a 15/16 right on there and turn the motor over to get to each one of these torque converter bolts. Break it loose, put this bad boy up there. Like this. In line, transfer case has to come off. So what we're going to do is support this with a jack now, and then take off the nuts. 1, 2, 3. There's 6 of them all the way around. On this transfer case, there is nuts up there. 1, 2, sometimes 3. You can't hardly get to them because there's no space up there. This right here is your saving grace on that nuts that are up there. After you get all the nuts off, then there's a perfect little space right here to stick your pry bar and crack it loose. Okay, and when it's loose, then you go get a buddy to help you take it down. Put it on the floor. All right, after you got everything unhooked off the transmission, next thing is these 13 millimeters. There's one right there to hold the dipstick. Take that little plastic clip off, and there's another 13 under there to take that little bracket off. And that's on the very top of the transmission up there. And then there's one more right there to hold the bracket on for the fuel lines. You take those three 13 millimeters off, and then bell housing bolts. All right, long extension, 13 wobble. Housing bolts are out. These things are stuck on the dowels sometimes. This one doesn't want to come apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pry bar right here. And I'm going to go right up in this starter hole, like right here, and pry. Okay, this one's really stuck, so I'm going to have to go to the other side and pry a little bit. All right, you take that little plastic cover off and it gives you a little hole to pry in. Some of them are really stuck on the dowels. Like this one. But keep working it. Both dowels stayed in the transmission, which is not ideal, but once I get the transmission out, I'll knock them out and then put them back in the motor. When we put this case in the wash, they'll fall out. Everybody, that's it. 6-speed pulled. It's not that big of a deal. It's the same exact thing as every other Chevy truck, Tahoe, Suburban. Every one of these 6 speeds is exactly the same under here. So if you watch some of the other videos on my channel, you'll see a lot of years with the same exact stuff going on here. Next for this truck is putting it on the flush machine to flush the cooler. These are the cooler lines. So these cooler lines go up to the cooler, and if this transmission goes out and a bunch of crap gets in here and gets plugged in the cooler, then you rebuild this transmission or get a new one, you put it in, and then this pumps all that stuff from the cooler back into the new transmission and ruins it. So take this temperature block off right here, and then I'm going to hook up my flush machine. And I'll show you that here in just a second. This little piece comes off, and then this block comes off. And then you got to make sure to get these O-rings off of here before you put the fittings on for the flush machine. These are the fittings that go on the line. Through it to keep it from coming off. It comes off. If you surface to it, motors out. Hook this line up. quick disconnect fitting. All right, plug it into electric. Plug air. That. And turn it on. Now this is gonna flush both directions. So this is the flow meter. So right now it is kind of plugged, and that'll work its way out, and this will also heat way up. So this will flush that cooler, and then after it's done flushing, check this filter right here, this screen. I'll show you that later. Alright, it's done. Almost through. What came out of the cooler? Okay, not as much as I thought, but you see all this metal? That's some big chunks of metal. And if that were to go back into the new transmission, done. So anyway, that's the final step. Now the transmission will go to the builder, which is just in the other room. He will build it, and then we will reinstall it. All right, everybody, thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.